In Mexico City, on September the 17th, 1925, a trolley cart crashed into a bus, severely wounding and killing several of its passengers. One among these was a girl of 18, who had hopped off the previous bus to look for a lost parasol. She had already suffered the effects of polio at 6 years old, which had led to an impaired right foot and a noticeable limp. Travelling with her boyfriend at the time, the young woman sustained severe damage to her spine, her right foot further crushed and dislocated, and an iron handrail that pierced through her uterus and abdomen, the same way she would later say as a sword pierces a bull. While recuperating in hospital from the crash, she would reach for a sketchpad with only the previous tutelage of a commercial illustrator to guide her. So began the often painful, always powerful artistic life of Frida Kahlo Calderón, born on the 6th of June 1907, commonly known as Frida Kahlo. One that would be full of heartbreak, artistry and passion, and would guide her straight into the arms of Diego Rivera, a meeting she would famously call the second greatest accident of her life. In this episode of Heartbreak, we're covering the life and love of Frida Kahlo and her husband Diego Rivera, a relationship infamous for its simmering passion and tumultuous catalogue of affairs that left neither unscathed. 3 years before her accident, Frida began attending the National Preparatory School in Mexico City in January 1922. Only 15 years old and at the time hoping to pursue medicine, it's here she met Diego Rivera as he worked on The Creation. A rock star muralist, one of the so-called Big Three in Mexican art, and the man who was to sit at the heart of her life and work. Diego was captivated by Frida's fierce nature. After all, she was the only student who dared approach the well-established artist, and when they met again 6 years later at a gathering of the Mexican Communist Party, they fell deeply in love. That same year, on the 21st of August 1929, the two were married, despite a 20-year age gap and such contrasting appearances that Frida's parents nicknamed them the Elephant and the Dove. While both conducted numerous affairs throughout the marriage, their relationship, one many suspect was what we would now call an open marriage, survived relatively happily until Diego would commit the ultimate betrayal.
Female friends were of utmost importance to Frida Kahlo throughout her life. She realizes after they've been in Mexico that he had been having an affair with her sister, Christina. Think about this. This is not just it destroys trust in the marriage, but it also robs her of one of her closest female companion, her best friend and her sister.
In memory, Frida plays out their relationship all at once. From the school dress signalling her early infatuation to the traditional Tijuana-style dress Rivera preferred her to wear. Small Cupid's seesaw on the arrow lodged through her chest, while her heart sits washed up on the shore, a heartbreaking symbol of her pain and the unpredictable nature of her relationship with Diego, a state reflected in the sea that calls her ship-clad foot further into the waves of uncertainty. It wouldn't get any easier for the couple, and they divorced 2 years later, prompting Kahlo to create what is perhaps her most well-known work. The two Fridas splits the artist in two. One sits with a dissected heart on full display, its main artery cut by the surgical scissors held in her lap as the blood drips further down the otherwise spotless white of her skirt. The other, connected by a thin vein, sits in traditional Tijuana costume, clutching a small portrait of her husband as a child between her fingers, this time her heart whole. With the pain of Diego's numerous betrayals still fresh, Frida constructed the Wounded Table, a broken tableau which riffs on Da Vinci's Last Supper, casting Diego notably in the role of Judas. Despite the affairs on both sides and Frida's lost trust in Diego, they remarried in 1940. Beyond all the pain, heartbreak and betrayal, it seems nothing on earth was able to keep them apart. Their mutual artistry and respect for the other's skill meant their partnership went beyond a legendary romance. They were collaborators in the truest sense of the word. Frida's husband once said her paintings extolled the feminine characteristics of resistance, honesty, authenticity, cruelty and suffering. Never before had a woman depicted on canvas such agonized poetry as Frida did. It's one of the artist's later paintings that arguably shows this most clearly. Diego and I presents Frida more vulnerably, the artist setting Diego at the forefront of her mind, while his mind's eye seems to look inwards, refusing to make contact with her always unwavering gaze.
The thing is that she always has this direct gaze, but he doesn't tend to be as direct, which I think also speaks to their, one of the tensions in their relationship.
Diego Rivera may have been the source of much heartbreak and pain for Frida Kahlo, but he was also the man to whom she would stay married up until her death. On the 12th of July 1954, her husband sat at her bedside as she battled with pneumonia. Frida passed him the ring Diego had gifted her for their 25th wedding anniversary, claiming she felt her death was imminent. She would pass away the very next day, leaving behind a legacy of heartbreak creation and otherworldly passion. Want to hear more about the lives, culture and history of the heartbroken? Subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with the home of heartbreak, or head to thesplitmag.com for personal stories, useful tips and more.